It was a Wednesday night, the kind of evening that didn't promise anything memorable, just a quiet stretch of hours before bed. The kids were finally asleep upstairs, and the hum of the dishwasher had settled into the rhythm of the house. I was folding laundry in the living room, my usual task when I needed to feel useful. One sock matched another. A pair of leggings rolled into a neat twist. Then came the gym bag. Vanessa always left it in the corner by the entry bench. We had one of those minimalist setups, a reclaimed wood bench with cubbies underneath. Her gym bag was always the same black and teal Adidas model she'd had for years. She worked out 5 times a week, cardio on Monday and Wednesday, bar on Tuesday, yoga on Friday, and spinning on Sunday. Rigid schedule, one of the many things I admired about her. Or used to. I reached for it absent-mindedly, intending to toss her gym towel in the wash. When I unzipped the main compartment, a strong scent hit me. Not sweat. Not her usual lavender deodorant. This was something else entirely. Something sharper. Masculine. I paused, confused. Nestled between her yoga mat and sports bra was a silver and black stick of deodorant. The brand was one I'd never used. One of those newer, sleeker brands that lean into the whole rugged woodlands scent profile. It wasn't Vanessa's, and it definitely wasn't mine. I turned the stick over in my hand. It had been used, maybe once or twice. Not enough to wear down the whole surface, but enough to leave a crescent of residue. I set it down carefully, like it was evidence in a crime scene. Which, maybe it was. I know what you're thinking. Why would a man's deodorant in a gym bag send me into such a spiral? But it wasn't just the deodorant. It was everything that followed. The way she'd been getting home later from workouts, sometimes not even sweaty. The way her phone now tilted just slightly away from me when she texted. How she'd started showering at the gym instead of at home. And the way she smiled afterward, distant and soft, like her thoughts were elsewhere. Still, I tried to push the idea away. It could have been innocent. Maybe she picked it up by mistake. Maybe someone left it in the locker room, and she grabbed it without realizing. Maybe. But the seed had been planted. And once that happens, it grows whether you want it to or not. The next morning, I watched her leave for work and then head to her workout. She still used the same gym, a small boutique one a few blocks from her office. We used to go together before the kids were born. Now I hadn't set foot in the place in over 3 years. I decided to visit. Not to confront her. Just to see. I waited until she was halfway through her workout, according to her routine. That would have been right after the bar class, and walked in, feigning interest in joining. The receptionist was bubbly, offered a tour. I took it. Walked past rows of treadmills, the mirrored walls reflecting sweaty bodies and perfect posture. I saw her, in the corner of the room, stretching. She looked radiant. Flushed, but not with exertion. She was laughing at something a man beside her had said. He was tall, lean, wearing a shirt with the same logo as the deodorant. He looked like a walking ad. Designer stubble. Defined jawline. The kind of guy who probably drank turmeric smoothies and followed investment podcasts. Vanessa touched his arm briefly, just a light press, but it felt intimate in a way that made my stomach knot. I left before she saw me. Back at home, I sat on the edge of our bed staring at her gym bag. The deodorant was still there, tucked into the side pouch. I opened it again, slowly, carefully. Along with the stick, I noticed a receipt. Folded and crumpled. From a convenience store about 10 blocks from our house. 2 items, a bottle of water, and that same deodorant brand. Dated last week. Time stamped at 6:42 p.m. A day she claimed she stayed late at work because of a client meeting. Now, I wasn't just suspicious. I was sure. But I didn't say anything that night. We ate dinner with the kids. Read bedtime stories. Cleaned up together like always. She kissed me goodnight. I kissed her back. And all I could think about was that stupid gym bag, sitting like a loaded gun by the door. The next day, I began watching her more closely. Patterns became clearer. On Wednesdays, she wore makeup to the gym. She never used to. Her calls became less frequent during the day, her texts more evasive. Always kind. Always polite. But hollow. On Friday, I installed a small camera in our bedroom, hidden in a smoke detector casing. I wasn't proud of it, but I needed truth. I needed to know what I was dealing with. That evening, she came home late. Said she'd gone to a new smoothie bar with some of the girls. I nodded, smiled. Played the fool. She showered, sang softly to herself in the bathroom, then curled into bed beside me like everything was fine. But it wasn't. That night, after she slept, I retrieved the footage. It showed nothing alarming. She came home alone, undressed, showered. No secret phone calls, no hidden texts. But still, that gym bag, that smell, that man. On Sunday, while she took the kids to her mother's, I did something I hadn't done in years. I went back to the gym, signed up for a free trial, took a spot in the spinning class she usually attended. She wasn't there, but he was. The man from bar class. Same shirt, same cologne. He was talking to a different woman this time, but his laugh carried across the room. Later, in the locker room, I saw his gym bag. Same brand, same style. I recognized the stick of deodorant peeking out from the front pocket. It was his. Not a coincidence. Not a mistake. She had his deodorant in her gym bag. Why? That night, I sat in our kitchen while she bathed the kids. I stared at my wedding ring, at the grooves in the oak table where the high chair used to scratch, at the family photos hung with pride. My stomach twisted. This wasn't a suspicion anymore. It was a slow, creeping certainty, and I was going to find out exactly how deep it went. By Monday morning, I had a plan. I called in sick, told my manager I had a stomach bug, something going around the office. Truth was, I didn't want to face my team, didn't want to pretend I was fine when every waking second was wrapped in paranoia. Vanessa left at 7:42 a.m., like always. Gym first, then the office. I watched her from the upstairs window as she backed out of the driveway, sunglasses on, hair tied in that casual ponytail she always did for workouts. Her gym bag rode shotgun. I didn't move until her car disappeared around the corner. Then I went downstairs, grabbed the spare keys to her car, something she didn't even realize I had, and stepped into the garage. The smell of rubber and engine oil greeted me, comfortingly familiar. Her car was cleaner than I expected. Vacuumed recently. No stray receipts, no wrappers. She'd been meticulous, but she'd made a mistake. The gym bag was still in the passenger seat. I unzipped it again, slowly, my hands trembling slightly. The deodorant was gone. I froze. Every muscle in my body seized up with a kind of quiet panic. That was confirmation in itself. She had removed it. She knew I might find it. Or worse, she had given it back. I rummaged deeper. A half-empty protein bar. A pair of leggings. A gym towel, still damp. And then, buried at the bottom, something new. An envelope. Plain white. No name. No markings. But it was sealed. I hesitated. Every instinct screamed at me to open it. So I did. Inside were 3 Polaroid photos. Real ones. Physical. Tangible. The first showed Vanessa and the gym guy, shirtless, in a locker room mirror selfie. She leaned into him, eyes closed, lips near his neck. The second, more intimate. Her straddling his lap, still in workout gear, but unmistakable in posture. It wasn't just friendly. The third made my stomach churn. It was our bedroom. Our bed. But she was on it. Alone, taking a photo of herself in lingerie I had never seen before. The same duvet. The same pillows. But that smile? That wasn't for me. I dropped the photos on the passenger seat like they were burning my hands. What kind of affair came with printed evidence? And why leave them in the car? Was it some sick trophy? Or had someone else left them there for me? Suddenly, another question haunted me. Was she cheating or being blackmailed? I didn't know which would be worse. I took pictures of the Polaroids with my phone, then resealed the envelope and placed it back. Didn't touch anything else. I returned to the house, locked the door, and sat on the floor of our hallway, staring at nothing. That afternoon, I installed 2 more cameras, one in the garage facing her car, and one in our closet, disguised as a light fixture. I also added motion detectors that would ping my phone if someone entered those spaces. I needed to know everything. By Wednesday, I had patterns. She met him. His name was Greg. I learned from watching her texts, every Monday, Wednesday, and sometimes Saturday. Most meetings were short, 30 to 45 minutes, always after her supposed workouts. They sometimes met at the gym, sometimes at a nearby cafe, and twice now, at a red brick apartment complex downtown. I mapped it. Unit 4B. Greg's place. I didn't confront her. I didn't ask questions. I just observed. And waited. Thursday night, she returned home late. Said she was stuck in a meeting. Her hair was damp, freshly washed. She wore minimal makeup. No scent. No signs. But I knew better now. While she showered, I retrieved her gym bag. No deodorant. But this time, another surprise, a second phone. A cheap burner, tucked behind the zipper lining. My hands shook as I powered it on. No password. Just messages. A few recent ones. Greg. Saturday's still good? Vanessa. Yes. Same time. I'll bring the wine this time. Greg. Don't forget the keys. I locked the phone and put it back exactly where I found it. I didn't know what keys they meant, but I knew I needed to find out. On Friday, I followed her. I told her I had an early site visit. Left the house before her. Parked near the gym. Waited. At 8:03 a.m., she arrived. But she didn't go in. Greg pulled up in a black sedan 2 minutes later. She walked over casually, kissed him on the cheek like they were old lovers, then got into his car. They didn't drive to the gym. They went straight to the red brick apartment complex. I tailed them carefully, parked half a block away, heart pounding. They stayed inside for 42 minutes. When she came back out, her hair was tied differently. Her lipstick was smudged, and she looked satisfied. I took pictures, not because I needed more proof, but because I wanted it. Proof for court. Proof for custody. Proof for myself. That night, she made pasta for dinner, helped the kids with homework, kissed me goodnight like she always did. But I couldn't kiss her back. I was numb. Saturday morning arrived like a storm cloud. She dressed early. Tight black leggings. Low-cut tank top. A new hoodie I hadn't seen before. Said she was going to brunch with Emma. Emma was her coworker. I had her number. I texted her after Vanessa left. Hey Emma, hope everything's okay. Just checking. Vanessa said she was meeting you for brunch? 10 minutes later, Emma replied. Brunch? No, haven't seen her all weekend. Tell her I say hi though. My blood ran cold. She was lying. Again. Boldly. Easily. The kids were at my mother's that weekend. Vanessa didn't know I had arranged it. This was the window I needed. I waited an hour. Then drove to the apartment complex. Parked. Waited again. At 11:16 a.m., Greg and Vanessa exited the building, holding hands, laughing. She wore sunglasses. He carried the gym bag. They didn't see me. I followed them downtown. They entered a quiet cafe and took a corner table. I parked where I could still see them, and I waited. My mind spiraled through rage, sadness, confusion, but also strategy. I didn't want revenge. Not yet. I wanted answers, and I needed to understand something first. Why would she keep the deodorant? Why keep the photos? Why take the risk? Unless she wanted to get caught. That thought hit me like a gut punch. I watched them finish their drinks and leave. I stayed behind, waited 10 minutes, then walked inside, straight to their table. The waitress cleared it, but I saw what I needed to see. Another envelope. This one addressed to me. No name. Just you know. I snatched it, paid for their drinks, and left. Back in my car, I opened it. Inside, more photos. More angles. Vanessa. Greg. Naked. Smiling. But something was off. Every photo had been taken from a low angle. Hidden camera style. This wasn't for pleasure. This was surveillance. Someone else was watching them too. I didn't sleep that night. I couldn't. The envelope lay on the kitchen table, sealed again, mocking me. The photos inside, sharper than the Polaroids, were printed on glossy paper. Higher resolution. Candid. Framed like they'd been taken from a camera stashed in a corner of the ceiling. No angles a phone could easily capture. Vanessa and Greg were unaware of the lens that watched them. That made 3 of us now. Her, him, and whoever was taking these pictures. The first thought was wild. Was this blackmail? Was Greg married too? Was Vanessa being watched by someone from his life? I tried to retrace everything. Was there a detail I'd missed? A signal? A name? But then another thought crept in, more sinister. What if she knew about the photos? What if this wasn't an affair at all, but something more twisted? By 4:20 a.m. I was pacing the garage. I stared at her car like it might answer me. I opened the glove compartment. Just her sunglasses, a lip balm, and a folded parking receipt from 3 days ago. Unit 4B. The apartment again. I sat behind the steering wheel, the heater on low, fogging the windows. Then, I pulled out my phone and opened the image gallery. Scrolled through the photos I'd taken from that afternoon. Her hand on Greg's thigh. Her laugh as they left the cafe. The shape of her mouth as she leaned in toward him. Her head turned, just slightly. It wasn't directed at me, but for a brief second, it looked like she was smiling at the camera. I deleted the thought. Irrational. Paranoid. But the seed of it stayed with me. Sunday morning passed like a haze. She was cheerful. Baked scones. Played board games with the kids. Asked if I wanted to do something just us next weekend. I nodded. Lied. smiled. Meanwhile, I checked the burner phone. She hadn't texted Greg that day. No outgoing messages. But the last text she'd received had come at 2:14 a.m. from a number not in her contacts. Unknown. Still think you can lie your way out of this? No reply. Nothing else after that. A chill spread through me, thick and cold. Whoever sent that message wasn't Greg. Vanessa had an enemy. Or maybe we both did. I needed help. That afternoon, I called Mark. We hadn't talked in months. Not since the fallout over a project at work. But he was still the most capable investigator I knew. Before he moved into private consulting, he'd worked internal security for corporate firms. The kind of guy who could find a hidden camera in a hotel room blindfolded. Long time, he said after answering. His voice was gruff, like he was halfway through a cigarette. I need a favor, I said. Must be serious, he muttered. You sound like you've seen a ghost. I think I've been living with one. There was silence on the line. Then, I'll be there in 20. When Mark arrived, I showed him the gym bag, the Polaroids, the glossy prints, the burner phone. He took it all in without much expression, only pausing at the last envelope. This isn't amateur, he said, holding the photos against the kitchen light. This is surveillance grade. You can tell from the clarity. Lighting's even. Angles are fixed. Camera was mounted, likely high, probably wireless. Could be an Airbnb setup. Owners do this sometimes to catch rule breakers. Or someone with real gear watching them. Greg's place? I asked. Mark shrugged. Could be. Or somewhere they've used before. Multiple locations. Depends on how long this has been going on. Can you find out who sent these? I asked. I can try, he replied, sliding the burner phone into a small Faraday pouch. But this phone, it might be compromised. Someone else could be watching it. Or tracking it. That night, I slipped the burner back into her bag and returned everything as it was. I was walking a tightrope, pretending to be clueless while monitoring everything. Waiting. Mark worked fast. By Monday afternoon, he called me from an encrypted number. Got something, he said. Talk. The photos were printed at a local copy center. The printer ID's still watermarked into the image files. You can't see it with the naked eye, but I have software for that. I traced it to a self-serve printer at a 24-hour shop downtown. Surveillance footage shows a man printing the photos. Mid-30s, baseball cap, dark hoodie. He paid in cash. Do you have his face? Not clearly. But guess who walked in with him? I didn't speak. Mark continued. Greg, our guy, walked in 3 minutes after. Same outfit from the cafe photos. I exhaled slowly. So, he's the one printing pictures of himself with my wife. That or he's picking them up. Either way, he's involved. Which makes it weirder. Why would he send me photos of his own affair? I don't think he did, Mark said. I think he was sending them to Vanessa. Or threatening her with them. Blackmail. That word landed like a brick in my chest. Suddenly, things began to fit. Her anxiety. The deodorant removed from the gym bag. The burner phone. The odd text at 2:14 a.m. She wasn't keeping a trophy. She was hiding evidence. Later that night, I watched her in the bedroom mirror as she brushed her hair. She caught me staring and smiled. What? She asked. Nothing, I said. But my mind was burning. If Greg was blackmailing her, then the affair might not be what I thought. Maybe it started consensual and turned into something else. Maybe she tried to end it. Maybe he had something on her. Or maybe she was protecting me. The kids. The life we built. It didn't excuse her, but it complicated the story. Tuesday, I took the day off again. Mark and I drove to the apartment. We waited until Greg left, then followed him to his office. Mark had a contact there, a janitor, who agreed to let us into Unit 4B later that night in exchange for cash and silence. At 10:08 p.m., we entered the apartment. It was sparse, bachelor style, a leather couch, a flat-screen TV, a few dishes in the sink. But it was the bedroom that told the real story. Mounted in the corner of the ceiling, just above the wardrobe, was a pinhole camera. Still running, still blinking. Mark unplugged it, slid the SD card out. Then he found something else. A black binder, stashed behind a row of books. Inside, dozens of photographs. Some of Vanessa. Some of other women. All of them in compromising situations. All of them labeled with names, dates, locations. Greg wasn't just having an affair. He was running a ring. A voyeur. A collector. Possibly worse. That's when we heard the front door jiggle. Mark looked at me. Closet. Now. We slipped inside. Hearts pounding. Keys turned. The door opened. Footsteps. Then silence. We peered through the slats. It wasn't Greg. It was Vanessa. She walked in slowly, looked around, then made a beeline for the bedroom. We held our breath as she rifled through drawers. Then she found it, the binder. She flipped through it like she knew what was inside. Then, without warning, she turned and stared directly at the closet. "Come out," she said quietly. "I know you're there." I froze. My legs locked. My breath hitched. Beside me, Mark tensed too. I could feel the heat radiating off both of us inside the narrow closet, our backs pressed against a row of Greg's collared shirts. Vanessa's voice was soft, calm, but certain. Not a question. A statement. "Come out." I didn't move. Neither did Mark. Then she said it again, louder. "I know you're there. And if you're not Greg, you've got 5 seconds before I call the cops." Mark pushed the door open slowly. He stepped out first, hands up, like a suspect in a standoff. I followed behind, heart slamming against my ribcage, every nerve on fire. Vanessa's eyes widened for just a split second, but she didn't look surprised. Just resigned. "I knew it was you," she said. "You've been following me." She didn't look angry. She didn't cry. She didn't collapse into apologies. She just stood there, one hand still gripping the binder. "I was going to tell you," she added, almost too quietly. "Tell me what?" I asked, voice cracking. "That my wife's cheating on me with a man who secretly films women?" She exhaled and sat down on the edge of the bed, the binder still in her lap. "I didn't know he was filming us," she said. "Not at first." My head spun. "At first. I met Greg 3 months ago at the gym," she said. "It started off innocent, friendly. Then it escalated. Fast. I was stupid. I wanted to feel something. Wanted to feel seen. But then, after a few weeks, I tried to stop. That's when he showed me the first photo." She paused, staring at the carpet like it might swallow her. "He said if I left, he'd show you. Or worse, send them to my boss. To my parents. To the school where our kids go. He said no one would see me the same way again." Mark stood in the corner, silent, watching. I could feel the blood pounding in my temples, but I said nothing. "He kept everything," Vanessa continued. "The photos, videos, texts, even stuff I never knew he recorded. He said he had cameras in his place, and in the gym's locker rooms too. And then, last week, he started talking about other women. Told me he had a collection. Said I was just another chapter. That's when I knew I had to end it, for real." She looked up at me. Her eyes were bloodshot. "I came here tonight to steal this." She held up the binder. "To destroy it. All of it. If I could find where he kept the hard drives, I was going to torch the place. But I guess you beat me to it." I stared at her. My wife. The woman I'd slept next to for almost 10 years. Her confession didn't soothe me. It didn't justify the betrayal, but it shifted the shape of it. From cold, calculated deceit to desperation. Manipulation. "Why didn't you come to me?" I asked. Vanessa laughed bitterly. "You mean the man who's been planting cameras in our home? Cloning my phone? Hiding microphones in my car?" I flinched. "I found the camera in the vent," she said. "The day after you installed it. The bag too. I figured it out pretty quickly." "You never said anything." "And neither did you," she countered. "We were both playing spy." Mark finally spoke. "I hate to interrupt the marital postmortem, but we've got a problem." He gestured toward the apartment door. I hadn't noticed it until then. The click of a key turning in the lock. Vanessa's eyes widened. "Greg." Mark moved fast. He crossed the room, binder still in his hand, and opened the window. "Go," he told us. "Both of you." "What about you?" I asked. "I'll distract him. You get her out. Take the binder. Go now." Vanessa hesitated, then followed me. We climbed out the window and down the fire escape. Below us, the city hummed with indifferent traffic. I could still hear the distant click of the apartment door opening as we disappeared down the alley. Back in my car, parked 2 blocks away, we sat in silence. The binder sat between us like a third passenger. Neither of us looked at it. "What are you going to do?" she asked eventually, her voice small. "About what?" I replied, eyes fixed on the road ahead. "Me." I didn't answer immediately. The silence stretched. At last, I said, "Right now? I'm going to end Greg." Her head whipped toward me. "What does that mean?" "I don't know," I admitted. "But I'm not letting him get away with this." She reached for my arm. "Please, don't do anything reckless." I didn't pull away, but I didn't hold her hand either. 2 hours later, Mark called. "He left after 10 minutes," he said. Didn't notice anything was gone. I tracked him to a storage facility outside town. Pretty sure that's where he keeps the rest of it. Drives, backups, maybe more binders. The kind of thing you don't leave at home. Can you get in? I asked. Already did. I'm there now. You should see this. We drove in silence again. No words. Just anticipation, tension, and a roaring need for closure. The storage facility was dimly lit. Mark waited outside Unit 314, its steel doors slightly ajar. Inside, shelves, dozens of labeled drives, laptops, stacks of folders, and more binders like the one Vanessa stole. Greg had been documenting women for years. Vanessa, yes, but others too. Names, dates, even receipts. He had footage, screenshots, records of conversations, photos of his targets walking to their cars, entering gyms, talking on phones. It was sick, obsessive, predatory. He's a collector, Mark said. A voyeur with a god complex. What do we do? Vanessa whispered. Mark looked at me. We bury him. We spent the next 2 days preparing. Vanessa took her burner phone and texted Greg to meet her Thursday night. Said she wanted to talk, that she was ready to try again. He didn't hesitate. Agreed instantly. Same apartment. Same time. Meanwhile, Mark created a digital trap. He uploaded the entire contents of the drives to a secure server. Every photo, every video, every record Greg had ever kept. Then, we scheduled the files to be sent anonymously to every woman in those folders. With a clear note. You were filmed. You have the right to press charges. Here is your evidence. The final step? We planned to confront Greg that night. Publicly. Not with fists. With everything. But as we stood outside the apartment, binder in hand, server link ready, Vanessa's phone buzzed. A new message. Not from Greg. Unknown. Don't bother. He's already gone. You took something that wasn't yours. Now I'm taking something that is. Attached was a photo. My son's backpack. On the floor of a room I didn't recognize. I stared at the photo, my hand turning numb as the phone slipped from my grip and hit the pavement. Vanessa gasped and snatched it up, staring at the screen. Her breath hitched, shallow and rapid. No, she whispered. No, he wouldn't. But he did. The photo was unmistakable. Our son's navy backpack with the rocket patch, slumped on a tile floor next to a heater vent and a green duffel bag I didn't recognize. No sign of our son, just his bag. Where's James right now? I asked, already fearing the answer. He's at my sister's. Or, she froze. Her eyes darted, panic setting in. He was. I dropped him off there this morning. Mark stepped between us, calm but sharp. Greg's playing a new hand. Kidnapping changes the stakes. We need to move now. I'm calling the police, Vanessa said, fumbling with her phone. No, I said, voice like a gunshot. Not yet. Her eyes widened. What are you talking about? If we call the cops and he panics, he could do something worse. He already knows we've been in his place. He wants to trade something. He thinks we're scared enough to fold. Mark nodded. He's bluffing. We're trying to leverage fear before we can expose him. I turned to him. Can you trace where that message came from? I can try. I've got software that pings the tower data from anonymous numbers. Give me 10 minutes. 5, I said. While Mark got to work, I called my sister-in-law under the pretense of confirming a pickup time. Vanessa hovered behind me, eyes wide. He's not there, I confirmed after hanging up. She said he left with someone else. She nearly collapsed. I caught her. The tears came then, unstoppable. But we didn't have time for grief. Not yet. Mark returned quickly. I got a location. About 30 minutes out, abandoned storage yard near the river. East side. I knew the place. A half-built lot from a failed construction company. Crumbling cinder blocks and rusted steel. Of course Greg would choose that. Vanessa wanted to come. I told her no. She insisted. We compromised. She'd stay nearby in the car while Mark and I went in. She didn't like it. Neither did I. But we were out of time. The sky was the color of lead when we arrived. Late afternoon sun filtered through clouds like a dying spotlight. The storage yard was deserted. A sagging chain-link fence surrounded it. One gate was bent open. We slipped through, gravel crunching beneath our shoes. I held the binder in one hand and the burner phone in the other. A text came through. Greg, walk to the red container. Leave the binder. Take your kid. No cops. We saw it. A rusted shipping container, the paint flaking like scabbed skin. I turned to Mark. You see anything? He scanned the yard with a small thermal camera. One heat source. Inside the container. Small. Could be a kid. I exhaled. Walked slowly toward the red container, my boots crunching the gravel like a countdown. I reached the door and pulled it open. And there he was. James. Sitting on a folded tarp with a juice box in one hand and a tablet in the other. He looked up, blinked, then grinned. Dad. I dropped everything, pulled him into my arms, and held him tighter than I'd ever held anything in my life. You okay? I asked, voice shaking. Yeah. Some guy picked me up from Andy's. Said you sent him. His eyes narrowed. I knew you didn't. He was weird, but he didn't hurt me. Smart boy, I whispered. I stood and turned. Mark was already motioning behind the nearby loader. Movement, he mouthed. I picked up the binder and carried James to the car. Vanessa saw us coming and jumped out, arms open. She grabbed him, sobbing into his hair. He hugged her, confused but calm. Then I turned back and walked. Toward the loader. Toward him. Greg stepped out slowly, hands up. You have what you want, he said. We're done. You think this ends because you say so? I've got backups. You leak anything, and it all goes out anyway. I already did, I said. His eyes flickered. Confusion. Doubt. Panic. What? I uploaded your entire collection to a server that already sent it to every woman you filmed. Every single one. They know who you are, what you did, your face, your apartment number, your gym, your license plate. You're bluffing. No, Greg. You are. I stepped closer. You gambled with lives. With my marriage. With my son. You lost. He lunged. But Mark was faster. A single blow to the side of Greg's knee dropped him. Another cracked into his ribs. Greg gasped, wheezing, folding over like a puppet whose strings had been cut. We didn't touch him again. We let him writhe. Then we called the police. Greg was arrested that night, charged with possession of unlawful surveillance, coercion, stalking, and endangering a child. His lawyer tried to play it down, called it a misguided affair gone too far. But the women who came forward weren't having it. There were dozens. Some from years ago. Some who had no idea they'd been recorded. Greg was sentenced to 7 years. The trial was short. The fallout wasn't. Vanessa and I, we didn't pretend things were fine. For a while, we lived like roommates. Co-parenting. Civil, but distant. Then therapy. First solo. Then together. Some days, I hated her. Some days, she hated herself. But then came the days where we talked again. Watched movies. Held hands without flinching. I didn't forgive her easily. She didn't ask me to. But she made it her mission to rebuild. Brick by brick. No illusions. No secrets. We're not perfect. But we're honest now. And that might be better. Sometimes I still think about that gym bag. Still hangs in the hallway. Empty now. But I can't throw it away. It reminds me of everything that broke. And everything we built again. Sometimes, what destroys you also forces you to rebuild something stronger. From the wreckage,